Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Leslie Phillips.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. My name is Dr. Leslie Phillips and I am your host, and I am joined in the studio today as usual with our producer Corey.
Hello.
And we have a special guest who I'm going to be introducing you to in a moment. But before I do, let me just remind you that Unlocking Your Truth is a talk show, and our focus is on metaphysics and spirituality. And every week we have a different topic to educate and entertain you about that realm. And today we're going to be focusing on the subject of spiritual awakening. What is a spiritual awakening? How do you know if you're having a spiritual awakening, and how does it affect your life? And our guest that we have today is called Corby Mitleed, and she's going to be helping us understand all about spiritual awakenings. Corby has been on the mystic's path for 40 years, and she's been meeting her life challenges and always questioning and leading an examined life. And the road has illumined an essential cosmic truth for her, which is that God gives all of us what we need for a life filled with miracles and joy, as long as our hearts are open, whole, and aligned with source energy. Anything is possible. Now, Corby is a psychic, a channel, and a medium, and she's been doing readings since 1973. She travels from coast to coast in the United States and Canada, and she's a full-time intuitive counselor. She's appeared frequently on radio and TV and is an inspirational teacher and facilitator. And she's a featured channel in Robert Schwartz's breakthrough series, Your Soul's Plan and Your Soul's Gift. And she's the author of a book called Clean Out Your Life Closet. So welcome to the show, Corby.
I'm delighted to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I should just mention that right now we're broadcasting across the Fraser Valley in BC, and you can live stream on civl.ca. And yeah, don't forget to check us out on the podcast on drlesliephillips.com as well. So Corby, your whole thing is about making spiritual awakening accessible to people. And
yes, very much.
So tell us about that. Why is there a need to make it accessible? And how many people are going through spiritual awakenings right now, do you think?
Oh, Leslie, why is there a need? Have you looked out your window lately? Good Lord. The world is really roller coaster, no brakes right now. Massive dichotomies. Light and dark is tangoing on every street corner. So a spiritual awakening isn't religion. I'm not telling everybody to get religion and get to church. That is so not it. A spiritual awakening is when the fabric of reality shifts. If you find that you're kind of numb as you go through life and it's always just repetitive and you're floating on the surface, the numbness goes away. Boom! Something outside of ourselves lifts us up. It's like tearing away the fabric to see what is really underneath our everyday existence.
So is a spiritual awakening, in your opinion, you know, those times in life where we go through a massive shift and all of the things that used to give meaning to us have ceased to be as meaningful as they used to be, and we want something deeper?
That's very much a part of it. That's something that there are 7 stages to spiritual awakening. And the first thing that happens is usually something that I call the irresistible force. There is an immediate and profound occurrence. You can be in an accident. People around you can die. There could be a world catastrophe. There can be a deep emotional shattering. You can have an ET encounter or a discarnate, which is somebody who isn't in a form. You can meet your soulmate. Or like me, you can have a serious illness that bumps you up against mortality and you realize there's something after this. There is a reason for this to be happening.
Mm-hmm. And what and the reason is?
The reason is we're needed. The reason is with a spiritual awakening, you're going to be far more aware of what's in the world and how you can change it. Okay, what kind of things happen in a spiritual awakening? Well, you're going to realize that there is unconditional love, connection, and support. That there is an eternal connection. We are not down here by ourselves. The world expands. You're no longer a citizen of British Columbia or New York State or the United States or Canada. You are a citizen of the world and the universe. You realize the interconnectedness. Your guides and your angels and your soul usually specifically target that moment for a spiritual awakening.
So, is a spiritual awakening always the same for everybody going through it, or is it just as unique as every individual?
Oh, please. You know, somebody once asked me, is there a right way to have a spiritual awakening? Like, Sid and Janet had this kind, and I'm thinking mine has to be better, or maybe it's not as good. Oh, no, no, no. If you compare, that's ego flooding the spiritual engine. Okay? Or as they say on game shows, wrong answer. The spiritual awakening can happen in so many different ways. As I said, let's take a look. I did the cancer dance 3 times. So that's when it hit for me. If someone all of a sudden thinks that there's nothing after life and we just snuff out like candles, and all of a sudden they have an encounter with an angel, or they have an encounter with a clearly dead human soul that comes to them, that's a spiritual awakening. Is mine more valid than theirs? No. Spirit guides, and this is important, you know, we don't have the same spirit guides as we go through life, just like you don't have the same teachers from kindergarten to PhD. So my spirit guide may be tilted in one direction, somebody else's may be in another. My spirit guide may be angelic, somebody else may have their grandmother come in as their main guide. And these are the entities and the energies that help decide, okay, the pump is primed. This is when they will be most open to the shift, to the change, and opening up to more than just what they can see, what they sense here.
Okay.
So don't compare yourself.
So all of those things that you talked about as representing a spiritual awakening, I can see that perhaps somebody would go through many of those. You know, and we've all seen these, I don't know, examples of spiritual masters like Eckhart Tolle, for example, and he went through a massive spiritual awakening that happened in a way overnight, right? That the fabric of his reality shifted. But isn't it not true that for most of us, it's a series of events that happen gradually over a longer period of time than a big, massive wham, bam, now you're awakened?
Oh, absolutely. That's why there are what I call 7 stages in spiritual awakening. It's not all of a sudden, you know, dawn breaks over Marblehead, ding, now I am a spiritual teacher. The first was the irresistible force. You know, something whacks you upside the head. Then you find yourself having a change in viewpoint.
Right.
There's a shift in perception of how your world is or should be shaped. You quit your job, you totally change your career. Your entire social structure can be realigned. All of a sudden, the people you hung with for years are just, they're not making any sense to you anymore. You can't get into what they're thinking about. Your interests completely redirect themselves. And then you start what I call packing the spiritual suitcase. You begin to notice the synchronicities. One of the things that you and I talked about, I'm doing my Kickstarter for producing the audiobook of my book, Clean Out Your Life Closet. And originally you said, well, we're scheduling way, way into the future. And I thought, okay, fine. And then it's, well, we have a fill-in. Can you fill in? And this is during my Kickstarter month. So that was the universe lining things up. Mm-hmm. Intuition, your hunches, your premonitions become more frequent. You get messages within dreams. Your senses are more acute, especially that sixth sense, that tapping on the shoulder or on top of the head energetically that says, pay attention to this, look over here. Then you will find yourself, it's what I call admission to the celestial college. You want to know all the stuff, but don't be overwhelmed by what you want to learn. It's like you're a freshman at McMaster's and all of a sudden you get the course catalog and you want to take everything. No, you have to, parse it out. So you take classes, you travel to places like Lilydale or Kripalu or Omega, you get books and you figure out your major here. Some people, the major is they want to teach. Some people, the major is, I just want to go meditate and be upstairs. Some people, I want to learn to channel an entity like Abraham or Seth or Emmanuel. And that's important. Remember, your major is for you. Do not compare it with everybody else. With me so far?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now,
I do have a question.
Corey's got a question.
Please,
I have
please.
a little bit of a question. Do you have people come to you that are confused about the difference between spiritual awakening and enlightenment?
Yeah. There's the old saying, first enlightenment, then the laundry,
Yeah.
which I love. And it's kind of the same way. If someone says to me, oh, this must be my last life because I'm so tired of life. And so, sorry. If you think it's your last life, it's not. Mm-hmm. Your last life in a cycle, you're very much not into yourself. You're into what you can leave behind. It's your victory lap. It's the gift you give to the world when you say, okay, I'm done being a discarnate right now and I want to stay up there and work. Okay. So spiritual awakening can perhaps get you to enlightenment, or at least on the road. But that's like saying, I got in my car, so I'm already at Disneyland. No, you got to make the drive. Spiritual awakening is getting in the car and deciding where you want to go.
And I find one of the major differences is that spiritual awakening is it has a long-term effect on the individual and everybody around them, whereas enlightenment, like, is here today, gone tomorrow.
I might disagree on that. Enlightenment is always there. It's, are we looking at it? Are we paying attention to it?
The switch goes on, the switch goes off, the switch goes on. Because the old saying is, as soon as you're enlightened, you're no longer enlightened. As soon as you know you're enlightened, you're no longer enlightened.
That's right. That's because the ego is going, look at me, I am just so close to enlightenment. And your spirit guides are going, boom, let's try this again. So that's why I talk about apprenticeship, journeyman, and mastery stage. So in spiritual enlightenment in apprentice stage, your head, your hands, and your heart are all wholly involved in getting awake. You are really ready to discover and develop your own spiritual gifts. You might align with a specific spiritual teacher or method. But here, I always warn people, remember, mentor, yes, guru, no. And here's the difference. A mentor will push you a little bit further than you think you can go, will boot you out of the nest a little bit before you think you're ready, and will be in the audience clapping for you when you get an award for being better at what they do than they are. Think about Meryl Streep thanking her drama professor at Yale. A guru is the one that says, I have this knowledge. It is wonderful knowledge. And if you sit at my feet and, by the way, take these courses, you might get there too. No, There are very, very few people who can legitimately say guru. Yogananda, not an argument. Gandhi, probably yes. But people that are this week's flavor of the month, no, Doreen Virtue is not a guru. Sylvia Brown was not a guru. I'm certainly no guru. We're mentors. I very often call myself a way shower. Okay, I get the rookies on the road, wave them off. Do not expect to be the great person that they remember at the end of their life. No, I get them on the road, and that's fine. We are just as needed as my grandmother would say, those big mahats up on the mountain.
Well, great, and thank you. And on that note, we're just going to go to a few advertisements, and we'll be back shortly. And listeners, you've been listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie, and today we've been talking to Corby Mitleid about spiritual awakening. Well, hello listeners, and welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. My name is Dr. Leslie Phillips and I am your host. And today we've been having a wonderful discussion with Corby Mitleid about spiritual awakening. And she's been telling us all about the spiritual awakening and what it's like to have a spiritual awakening. And now, you mentioned before the break, Corby, that there are 7 stages to a spiritual awakening. Can you enlighten us on what those 7 stages are?
Sure. We've gone through some of them very quickly. We went through, the first is the irresistible force. That is some immediate and profound occurrence that just snaps you awake. Accidents, illness, deaths, catastrophes. The next thing is a change in viewpoint. That's when there's a complete shift in your perception about how your world is or should be shaped. You might quit jobs, you might change your career, you might ditch a whole bunch of friends and make new ones. Your interests might completely redirect themselves. The next thing you do is you pack the spiritual suitcase. You notice synchronicities. Your intuition kicks in more frequently. You get messages in dreams. And your senses are more acute, your 6 senses. So then we get what I call the admission to the celestial college. That's where you want to know everything. You take classes, you travel to spiritual centers like Lilydale, you read books, and you figure out what it is that is your major, what you really want to concentrate on. Some people it's mediumship, some people it's channeling entities. With me, it's past life retrieval. Then the last 3 are just like any apprenticeship, journeyman, and master stage in any artisan skill. So apprenticeship stage, that's when your head, your hands, and your heart are now wholly involved in the awakening. That's where you want to go. You're ready to discover and develop your own spiritual gifts. You don't compare them with anyone else. It's just you. And you may align with a specific spiritual teacher or method. You may go with Eckhart Tolle, you may go with Yogananda, you may go with Doreen Virtue, you may go with Wayne Dyer, you may go with Emmanuel or Seth or Abraham, whatever that is.
Or all of the above.
Or all of the above. But that's why I say you may align with a specific that really goes deep. On the journeyman stage, which is where most of us who've been doing this for quite a while are, we'll admit, we begin directing our own life road. I had lots of careers, but at 9/11, when I watched the towers burn, I turned to my husband, I said, I need to do this intuitive work full time. So that was what told me, quit being an executive recruiter and all the other things, do this work. You become the teacher, the mentor, the guide to others, which I have done. You change your life as needed when and where you're not allowed to live your authentic self. That's really important. Now, I live in a very Republican, red state area, even though New York is a blue state, okay? So I am surrounded by Trumpers. I do a lot of work up here. I travel because there are places, New England, other parts of New York, down into Pennsylvania, where people are more ready to listen to what I have to say. And that's fine. You know, what was the old saying? A prophet is never honored in his own country. Yeah, find another country. And you share your unique sentence of passion with others as a main teaching vehicle. Now, this is important. Your sentence of passion is not who you are or what you do or even how you do it. It's your vapor trail. When you go skidding into heaven on bald tires and fumes in the tank, God hands you a cup of coffee and says, so tell me, you get to say, this is what I did. Isn't it cool? So for me, my sentence of passion is cross the bridge from fear to fearlessness and fly. When I can take somebody from point A to point B when they thought they couldn't make it, whack them on the shoulders, tell them, here are your wings, you don't need a flight plan, now get. I'm living my sentence of passion, I'm teaching, I'm freeing people to find their own awakening. So that's what I love to do. Stage of mastery? Oh, I wish, but no. That's when you have the 24/7 attitude of gratitude. Challenges always become opportunities. You are constantly living, creating, and sharing your bliss. Unconditional love and trust is a natural state. And you get to get up every morning. You never have to get up in the morning. Hear the difference in those two words, get versus have. We all strive for mastery, and sometimes we'll get it for a brief period, but we're human, you know. It's like a fish. We go, we take a breath, we're back in the water. But everybody can do it. You don't have to believe in a certain thing. You know, it's like I tell people, you can be Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, Muslim, Hindu, pagan, or believe in Ralph the Wonder Dog. I really don't care. The only thing I think you need is know that somebody upstairs loves you, wants the best for you, and is willing to work with you. That's it. Because that's how you'll pull down source energy.
So is this a natural process, a natural unfoldment? Do you have a choice whether it happens to you or not? Or is it just...
Of course you do. Of course you do. And it doesn't mean you're damned if you don't. What it is sometimes people are ready to take their life plan, their pre-birth planning, and move it forward, okay? Maybe it'll be offered again. It may or may not. Sometimes people have one point they planned for, and if they turn away from it, well, that's the only time that they get it. I had 3 shots at it and took a little bit each time. The spiritual awakening will be yours and yours alone when you decide to take it. And that's a key, because spirit doesn't force you into anything. It keeps showing you things. The way I explain karma with Rob's books, Your Soul's Planning, Your Soul's Gift. Karma is not good and bad, carrot and stick. Karma is 5 things: unbalanced energy, which is a neutral; healing, service; contrast, abundance, you need to be both rich and poor; and healing of beliefs. Now, I'm actually a subject in Rob's books as well as one of the channels. I'm Doris, the one who had the cancer situation. And I had cancer 3 times. Each one of those could have been the spiritual awakening that got me into loving my body, accepting what I looked like, being more honoring of my female energy. And the first time I said no, okay, lumpectomies and radiation. Second time, still said no. More got taken out. They were misshapen and scarred, but they were still there. Third time was a second primary. That turns the clock back to 0. And clearly what God was saying was, look, kid, we really need you down there to do some work. So since you can't get over the fact that you have a Dolly Parton figure and it keeps getting in the way mentally, we're going to remove the problem. So in 94, I had a double mastectomy. Took me from a Dolly Parton figure to, as I cheerfully say, a brunette fire plug. But I had to learn to love myself as I was, not using the body as a bargaining chip. And that's when I got out of my own way and woke up to what I was really supposed to do.
So that
might have happened in earlier times, but yeah. I was stubborn.
So that story that you told us, there's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of tough times and hard times. So does a spiritual awakening always have to be hard, or can it be Easy.
Sometimes you can be a lot brighter than I was. That's what it was. You can have a life where it is what I call gut courses, like at college, you take all the easy ones. Or my choice, double major plus lab. Now, a thing happened when I was 16 that my mother, who, now remember, karmically, we both agreed to this. She wasn't a bad person. She agreed to be my trip trigger for major karmic growth. So her personality was an alcoholic cross-addicted with barbiturates. And she always thought she was terribly ugly and was very jealous of who I was, because I blossomed by the time I was 11. So an incident happened when I was 16 where she accused me of whoredom, promiscuousness, worthlessness, and that was it. I was a virgin at that point, and I could have said, I'll show you, and stayed a virgin until I was married, and stayed married to one guy. That would have been the easy route. Instead, I said, well, she's my mom. She must know something about me. I don't, which set me on a road of 2 bad marriages, lots of bad relationships, horrible self-image, and that's when the cancer came in. I seriously believe if I had gone what I call the gut course route, I might never have had cancer, because I would have been accepting of my body as it was. On the other side of it, I might not have been able to teach the way I teach. So at 62 and this far down the line, it was a trade-off I'm okay with.
Yeah. No, I often believe that to be a really good teacher, it helps to have experienced what the people who are coming to you have been through. And so how can you have deep empathy for someone if your life's been a cakewalk? It's not,
I very often tell people, well, no, I'm not a size 2 blonde from Atlanta with a trust fund. Trust me, I've been through what you've been through. And they get it. Now, that's another thing. I make people laugh. Laughing doesn't mean something is not being taken seriously. Laughing is when people lower their shields in the information.
Well, and the vibration of laughter and amusement is a super high vibration. It's close to love. You cannot feel your pain when you are laughing. And so, no, laughter is one of the greatest healing vibrations that we have. Much better than being serious.
And you see, there are a lot of teachers that are very good, but they're very esoteric, all right? They do all the talking up here. And that's when people feel like, oh God, I'll never get there.
No, we want to make it practical.
Yes, the favorite example I have is very often I'll talk about happiness as a choice. And no, you don't say, I'll do blah, 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 then I'll be happy. You get happy first, and then you get what you want. Because we're not born unhappy, we learn to be unhappy. So I look at the audience, mostly full of women, and say, okay, I'll give $50 cold cash to the first person who can say to me, they have had a 6-year-old look at them and say, I'm so unhappy. Didn't you know I wanted to wear the pink onesies today? And they're on the floor. Because everybody knows that's not possible. But it's the visual example for them. No, I wasn't born unhappy. This is something I can change.
Yeah.
Words are nice. Better.
You mentioned something that is an observation I've made over many years, and that is, you said, well, I look at the audience, mostly women. So, and I know in my own practice, if I teach an event, it is mostly women. Most of the people who come are women. So what is that? I get more men when it's a private one-on-one session, but still. So maybe you can is it true that more women are awakening than men? I'm sure it's not true, but what's your perspective?
More women are open to awakening than men, that I'll say. It is civilization. If we were a matriarchal society, it might be reversed. We might be in the power positions. We might be the ones looking around to see what we need to do in the world. And the men might be the ones who have the time to sit and think and nurture and feel. At this point, the way civilization runs, the men are the ones that are supposed to go out and earn the money and fight the wars and do all the stuff. We women, we're given the kids to raise, which has to develop you emotionally in order to be able to be simpatico with the kid. We are not honored much in terms of what we have to say or what we think, so we internalize. And when the world keeps saying you're worth less because you're female, we have to go inside to fight that. So we have been taught, go inside, be the one who listens, the deep inner listening. So is it nature versus nurture? I think it's both. I think it's the way women have been wired in civilization for so long. We're the ones who always are expected to change, expected to fix, expected to do and be for everybody else. Mm-hmm. So we know we need to do and be for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And this is how we honor who we are, and this is how we give ourselves the power that the outside world may not.
Now, thank you. And, you know, the other thing that I'm aware of, and I'm sure you are as well, is over recent years, we've really been experiencing a major vibrational shift on the planet. And as the vibration and especially this year, I must say, but, you know, as that happens, then that's throwing more and more and more light, more of the shadow sides are being illuminated, and people are being offered the opportunity to look at themselves more deeply. And so this is part of the whole planetary shift and the awakening that's going on in multiple people.
Yes.
So just following on from what we were just talking about, because that same vibration is being presented to men and women alike. So what are the men doing? You know, are they more likely to be, like you said, you're presented with an opportunity and you can run away or you can embrace it?
Yes. You know, I'm actually going to go back and use a Bible thing, and I'm not a Bible person. But the idea when, you know, Satan took Jesus on the mountaintop and said, look at all this stuff I'll give you. Just hang out with me. That's a very powerful temptation. That's what happens with politicians. That's what happens with corporate oligarchs. They see the worldly power and it's a drug. It's a drug. And so very often, like, look at our Congress, look at all the Republicans. They go, la, 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 put their fingers in their ears. They don't want to hear the spiritual awakening. There are some men who are, to me, a little more balanced with their male-female energy, because we have both.
Yeah, totally.
They're much more accepting of the awakening than someone who was, as I say, macho de macho. It's all about the money. It's all about the power. Obama could probably have a spiritual awakening if he hasn't already. Trump, please. And at the same time, Donald Trump is exactly who we need right now in the United States, because he is making us look at ourselves.
Totally. He's reflecting back at you who you are.
And he's forcing us out of the exceptionalism, out of the United States is always right. He is dismantling everything we thought about ourselves. So we will have to change. Whatever we are after the Trump era, America will never look like it did 30, 40, 50 years ago, ever. We have to be something else. So in that sense, Trump is a tool for spiritual awakening. I know.
Totally, I agree. We did a whole show on that, actually. We've got a podcast where we covered Trump as a tool for spiritual awakening. Anyway, I've got to go to a break now. And so, folks, you've been listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie, and we've been interviewing Corby Mitleid, and I apologize because I said your name incorrectly earlier. We've been talking about spiritual awakening. So you're listening to CIVL on 101.7 FM, and we'll be back after these few messages. Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. And today the show has focused on the subject of spiritual awakening. And we've had a delightful guest that we've been talking to, and her name is Corby Mitleid. And she's been sharing her stories of her own spiritual awakening and the people that she works with and what she's observed about the process of spiritual awakening. And so thank you so much for sharing all of that wisdom with us, Corby, especially the 7 stages of awakening. That's very, very fabulous and useful. So normally on this part of the show, we hand it over to our listeners to ask their questions, and we help them with their life challenges. And they can write to us about anything, whether it's a career issue, an abundance issue, a relationship issue, or whether they are wanting more information about a spiritual question or spiritual experience. And so Corey has a list of questions, and so who should we help today, Corey?
Okay, let's go to Luann. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly.
We use a false name, by the way. It's not the real
So I am
name.
pronouncing it correctly then. Here's her question. Comments. Hi, Leslie. Hope you're enjoying the summer. It's been hot in the desert here. Leslie, my question is, what the heck is going on with me? I feel okay, but I'm alone. No one to pal around with. I would travel a bit more, but my work hours have been cut and some expenses keep me grounded. I'm not a loner by nature. No man, no local friends. I'm hoping you see big, happy, joyful changes coming soon. I'd be so grateful for some insight and truth. Thank you, and many blessings to you, Leslie.
Okay, well, great. So, Luann, what do you get about Luann and her?
Okay, I'm going to use 2 hands of tools, upstairs and tarot. The thing that I get from an upstairs point is, you know, when you were a kid and when you needed to concentrate on homework, they said, you know, stay off the computer or you're not going out, whatever. Spirit needs you to concentrate more on what you want. One of the reasons you're feeling a little alone and off is they're asking you to choose carefully who you're going to let into your life, because you're starting to find what I call your soulmate team. And it's important that you realize soulmates are not twin flames, because we all have a bunch of soulmates and we don't always marry them. My father was my best friend. He was a soulmate. Last husband wasn't. This one is. So what I'm hearing is the number 2 to 4. There are 2 to 4 people who are going to come into your life that will be worth cultivating and cherishing. And you're not going to be able to do that with single pointed focus if you're scattered all over the map. I'm also going to pull 4 cards. In the States, I'm a certified professional tarot reader. Been doing it for over 40 years. The cards are buddies. So 4 cards: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, how you work with things. Physically, 7 of Cups. Now, the 7 of Cups is a card that talks about scattered fantasy. So they want you to be concentrating on what is real in your life and what do you want to keep. Not what everyone else says you should do, but what do you do. Mentally, the 5 of Cups shows a man looking at 3 spilled cups, but 2 full ones behind him. Do not spend time looking at what you don't have, what you're upset about. Take your toys, put them away, turn around. There are those 2 awakening opportunities coming up for you if you clear your mental decks. Emotionally, 4 of Pentacles. Ask yourself, where have I been afraid to give emotionally? It doesn't mean put a little sign on your back, kick me. It means, where have I lowered my shields to let the right people in? Spiritually, Princess of Cups. The Princess of Cups always talks about wonderful new friends coming in. So I would also say, if you haven't checked with your spirit guides lately, you might want to go upstairs and talk. I think there's somebody new there for you as well.
Well, thank you so much, Corby. And I'll just do a quick check-in myself and see if there's anything to add to that. And, what you said is pretty dead on. And, one of the things that I know this lady, and she has been apprenticing. And
Okay.
So she's made some significant shifts in her vibrational field. And so some of the things that she was an attraction point for, and some of the people that she was an attraction point for, she no longer is. And so there's been a big, so that whole thing about you know, she's let go of the way it used to be. And so that whole thing about, well, focus on what, become the focus point for what you're asking for.
Excellent.
Yeah. Let's see if there's anything else. So she said, well, no, I agree with you. You know, it's a time to just, to focus on, give me a second. Let's see if there's anything else.
Mm.
Yeah, I just think it's a natural part of the shift that you're just being given time to make the transition, and you've been letting go of the old patterns, and you've been letting go of some of the people that were in your life that are no longer a vibrational match. And as you're letting go, that's opening up the space for the new people to come who are a vibrational match. So yeah, just a little bit of patience, because it's coming. All right, so Corey, do you have another question? Yeah.
There's always questions. I have an interesting one if we have time for it, but this one's kind of cool. I like this one. And this one comes from Missy. And Missy would like to know, hi, Dr. Leslie, I've been having vivid dreams recently, and they feel more like messages. Can you tell me if this is correct? I receive messages already clairaudiently, and I'm wondering if this is my spiritual gifts getting stronger.
Great. And you were talking earlier, weren't you, about these kinds of things happening more frequently when people are undergoing a spiritual awakening. So Missy's asking, what she's asking is, are the dreams, say that again, Corey, so are the dreams are a sign of her spiritual gifts getting stronger?
Yeah,
and the clairaudience.
I'm wondering if this is my spiritual gifts getting stronger.
Okay, sure.
Hi, Missy. Dreams are a wonderful vehicle for getting our metaphysical muscles toned, if you will. What I tell people when they're beginning to get things in dreams, you've got to keep a dream journal. Some people have a little bit of difficulty remembering it in the morning, so pencil and paper right by your bed. When you wake up, I don't care if you have to write down plaid rutabaga on a fire engine. Don't question it, just write down what you remember. You'll begin to see patterns. You will begin to see, oh, I always dream about a red cardinal when I have to tell someone to watch out, there is some difficulty in their lives. So yes, I believe that you're getting messages, absolutely. What you have to learn to do now is speak the language. Get a dream interpretation book. See if there's a pattern in your dreaming. If you always dream about flying dreams, or you always dream about dreams of moving, things like that. That also could be your guides giving you messages for you. It's not always messages for everybody else. But you're taking a new class in the Metaphysical University. Enjoy it, love it, do your homework, and always remember, maintain that tiny bit of skepticism. Don't immediately assume everything is a message, because you will have to learn to be discerning what's a message and what's just, yeah, I heard from my third grade friend yesterday, so I dreamt about him last night.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, and I'm also seeing that for you, when you're asleep is a really receptive time for you, because when you're awake, some of those things that can block the intuition are engaged, like the intellect and so on. So at the beginning stages, exactly, keeping a dream diary and paying attention to your dreams can be a really, really great way to get at your intuitive information. In fact, you can actually even train yourself to dictate your dreams into a dictaphone. That's actually how I started out.
Really?
30 years ago, I kept a dream diary. I trained myself to dictate my dreams while I was asleep with a dictaphone under my pillow. And I was amazed at what it recorded, because if it wasn't for my voice that was speaking it, I had no memory of these things. But anyway, dreams can be a fantastic way, and keeping a dream journal or a dictaphone. And of course, what's happening when you're asleep and when you're dreaming is you're actually entering the astral plane. And so there's no time and space in the astral plane. So there's a high, when you're awake in physical reality, you're limited by time and space, and so only a finite amount of experiences can take place. But on the astral plane, an infinite amount of experiences can take place. So as Corby said, not all of it's relevant to your waking reality. Not all of it will make sense to your waking reality. So part of it is to discern what's relevant, and then to be able to interpret it. And one thing I would say is all of those symbols are your symbols. So what do they mean for you when you're translating them? And let's just take a quick look at this clairaudience thing that she mentioned.
Okay, when you say clear, what do I think about the gift of the clairaudience for her?
Let's take well, she mentioned it, didn't she? She said she was receiving messages through her clairaudience, and so yeah, we can give us some feedback on that.
Using the clairs, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, those are wonderful things, because the people out there who don't do what we do, the rookies, they get that. So especially clairaudience, when you hear things, see if it comes from a different part of your brain. Very seriously, when we have thoughts inside our head and we're talking to ourselves, you'll feel it in a certain part. I'm willing to bet you that when you get clairaudience, a different part of your brain feels like it's resonating. See if you can differentiate to that, because it's going to give you a much clearer sense of when you're really hearing something from out there, or it's just you. Because clairaudience is wildly valuable when people know how to do it right. It's good on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would just say, it looks to me like you're actually working on clearing some blocks from your fifth chakra. And the fifth chakra is the energy center that relates to clairaudience, and it relates to some other intuitive abilities as well, including your inner voice. And so part of the thing with evolving your clairaudience is as Corby, how do I tell the difference between when it's my voice, when it's somebody else's voice? And it looks to me like that's part of what's happening with you in your spiritual unfoldment right now, is the discernment thing. You're hearing voices, you're receiving guidance. Where's the guidance coming from? So let's see if we've got one more question.
I've got 2 more questions, and I'll give you this one. The other one's interesting, but I think it's a little long. Well, maybe not longer. Let me read this one quickly. This is very interesting from Linda, and this comes in with what we've been talking about with Corby. Hi, Leslie. My name is Lindsay, and I'm from Ontario. I was wondering if you do voluntary readings. I'm an introvert who has social anxiety, and I'm unemployed due to it. I'm 29 and still live with my parents, which is so embarrassing. I'm normally too proud to ask for free help, but desperate times call for desperate measures. I'm unexpectedly turned to spirituality earlier this year and have been on a quest. I do feel skeptical at times, but I'm open-minded, so I don't really know what to expect from the spiritual side. I keep seeing the time 11:11, which I think is a good sign. I have been contacting psychics over the past few months, but either get ignored or denied a free reading. If you don't have the time or want to do a free reading on me, I understand. But if you do want to help get rid of my skepticism and make me poop in my pants, go for it. I'm not sure how your clairs work. Do people ask questions, or do they just say what spirit tells you? Thanks for the reading, Lindsay. Oh, sorry, Linda.
So the question in a nutshell, I mean, I picked up 2 things from that. One was the synchronicity thing with the 11:11, but also that she's what's the question in a nutshell, Corey? Is it?
Well, from what I'm gathering, what she's looking for an answer out of her quandary with regards to her situation, her social anxiety, and being an introvert. And I think if you read a little bit deeper into that, you'll find that the problem is the mirror. She doesn't like to look in the mirror, I don't think. But that's only my gut on that one.
Okay, so Corby, can you offer some help
All right.
to Lindsay?
Well, 1111 is one of those very auspicious numbers. And it's not that 1111 has a particular meaning, but it's saying, hello, pay attention to us, hello. One of the reasons I think that you haven't been getting free readings, etc., from psychics, my love, is because you are right now so open and so vulnerable. Spirit is keeping you safe. Sometimes the difficulty with going to a psychic that you don't know from Adam's house cat, you don't know if they're good, you don't know if they're trustworthy, you don't know if they're going to take you for a ride. So you will get a reading from, a one-on-one from a good intuitive when you're in front of the right person. Okay? Notice I'm not even reading you. I'm giving you what I've learned over 40 years of doing this stuff. Now, as far as the introvert and living with your parents and upset about that, this is something that I would say probably comes in with your pre-birth plan, that one of your great spiritual goals is to stand in your own knowing and be radically authentic in this lifetime. Extroverts, sometimes we're like balloons. The bigger we are, the easier it is for us to pop. An introvert has to learn to love, as Corey said, the person in the mirror. Trust yourself so that you are not easily battered by the world and what the world says. Just in doing a quick past life retrieval, what I am seeing for you is middle child, looks like maybe either Alberta or maybe down here in Midwest, 19th century. And it was a very strict family. You had artistic talent, they said was wrong. You had a great voice, they said that was a sin, etc. And basically they beat your creativity out of you. So you've come in with that, if you will, soul scarring. This is the life where you stand front and center and say, I am enough. I am worth your attention. I am worth being acknowledged. But you're not going to be able to do that until you can look in the mirror and say that to yourself and believe it with every fiber of your being. Love, there is nothing wrong with you and nothing ever was. It is the belief systems that you're working with right now, because we all believe what we feel will keep us safe. So you're feeling safe by keeping yourself small. One step at a time to get bigger, to get centered, to be able to be in the world strongly. And that's when you take off like a rocket, my girl, and you bloom. So there's nothing wrong with you. You haven't done anything bad. This is simply something you chose in your pre-birth plan to work on this lifetime.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that help for Lindsay, and thank you so much for being on the show, Corby. And if our listeners want to get a hold of you, how could they do that?
I make it so simple. If you're on Facebook, you can go to Corby Mitleid, or you can go to Fire Through Spirit, which is my kind of official professional page. I am also on the web at corbymitleid.com. When you go there, at least during the month of July, you're also going to see that we are doing a Kickstarter crowdfunding for my new book, Clean Out Your Life Closet. We've got an audio book that we're doing, because for every 3 people that love to read, there's the person who either can't because they haven't time, or they can't because they have cognitive difficulties, and we are working to give them the book as well. So come join us for that.
Thank you. And any last words of wisdom before we say goodbye? You're
not here by accident, my darlings. You're not. You came in specifically at this time because what you are and what your gifts are so desperately needed. So go step out. Somebody doesn't like the idea of your being spiritually awake. I give you 2 magic phrases. Thank you for sharing. You may think that if you wish, but then you go on and you go run your road, because we need you here.
Thank you so much. And everyone, you've been listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. We'll be back next Tuesday on 101.7 FM on CIVL from 7 to 8 p.m. And we're saying goodbye now.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Leslie Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. Come back again.